electronic sourcing, this is becoming a bigger and bigger aspect to procurement. How do you do it? Well, it's not as difficult as people think. It's just we're using software. It's more than just going to an Amazon website and buying something. But we'll dive into it. But let's first start with a quote. So a quote by Bill Gates. The first rule of any technology used in a business is that automation applied to an efficient operation will magnify the efficiency. The second is that automation applied to an inefficient operation will magnify the inefficiency. So you got to make sure that you're putting automation on a good process. So you have to evaluate it and look at your process and how do you make it better. So what does IT do for you? Well, in this process, since we're talking about electronic sourcing, we're going to need IT. But IT can help us automate the new purchasing processes because IT knows how the software may operate, what systems are involved with it, because it may talk to multiple systems even though you're only using one, let's say, software package, such as SAP or any of the other ones that are out there. Then you can see up to the minute snapshot of your spending. You can look at dashboards. You can create reports that can be real-time reports. So if you are in a decentralized sourcing office, you can see what all the other offices are doing, even though you don't have to pick up a phone or send an email. You can just look at the system and it will tell you. And then you can select and monitor specific suppliers. You can see and evaluate how they're performing based on the past data that's in there. And also, you can manage costs strategically. For example, if you have a goal that you're going to source 3% of everything from minority-owned businesses, well, how do you manage that? How do you keep track of that? Well, a system like this can do it for you. You just have to mark it as a minority-owned supplier, and it's that easy. And that way you can know if you're hitting your strategic goals. Because if you're hitting your strategic goals, you're helping your business succeed. But as it comes down to it, why should you care? Well, you have to be aware of these systems. It's not using electronic sourcing is not a strategy. It just enables you to accomplish your strategy. You can do it without electronic sourcing, but this helps you, or it can hurt you. Remember the quote from Bill Gates. And interaction is still important. Just because you have an electronic sourcing method doesn't mean that you don't need to pick up the phone and call somebody or send an email. I would say it's more important that you reach out and actually interact with these people, because all you are to these other people if you don't interact with them is a name on an email or a name at the bottom of a contract. They don't know anything about you. Some people thrive on that interaction. Others can do without it. But do you know what the other side is like? Do you know how your supplier is like? You might need to pretend to be sociable, because that will make your supplier like you. And that could mean better pricing or better terms. It's a game, right? You gotta learn how to play the game. Implementation. Implementing a system like this needs to be done very carefully. It's a very complex. You need to educate your staff, all the people that will be using this system. You're going to have some people that are absolutely against systems like this. And others will be all for it. So you have to see how your team and all the people that will be involved in this, the other stakeholders, what is their adoption? Are they going to adopt this technology, or are they going to reject it? So you got to think about that. So you have to care about the implementation and how it's done. More communication is better than no communication. So that's the introduction for electronic sourcing. But let's look at the evolution of electronic sourcing, because it had to come from somewhere, right? Well, let's look into that. You can also think of it as a little history lesson that'll probably be very, very short, because electronic sourcing is relatively new. But how did we get here? So let's go ahead and talk about electronic sourcing in our next video and learn about the evolution of it.